Hey He fans and She Ravers and toy fans alike, welcome to another Nerdgasms.net toy review. Today we're going to be taking a look at Scorpia, the evil warrior of the Horde from Mattel's Masters of the Universe Classics line. To say that Scorpia was fan-demanded would be a huge understatement. In fact, she was so fan-demanded that I'm astonished that it's taken this long to get her to market. But if nothing else, this proves the old adage. Good things come to those that wait, and I promise you that this figure is worth the wait. Starting with the head, Scorpia's facial sculpt is phenomenal. It's one of the most screen-accurate face sculpts that this line has seen, and that's an impressive statement considering some of the work that the Four Horsemen have done in this line. It's so unmistakably Scorpia. Beyond the sculpt itself, the paint application is also spotless. Even if we got garbage on the rest of the figure, which we didn't, I'd still give this one a B grade just based on how amazing the total head is based on the sculpt and the paint application. Next, we'll take a look at the body of the figure. In the Filmation cartoon, Scorpia was a pretty simple character. Much like a lot of the Filmation drawings, the detail was always lacking. Her claws were small and simplistic, and her tail was thin and lacked any detail. I think this left her ripe for updating for the Masters of the Universe Classics world. Had she been done for the 2000X line, we would likely have seen Scorpia wearing some sort of fantasy samurai armor with an over-stylized tail and exaggerated claws. But what the Four Horsemen gave us is something much more simple, elegant, and Filmation accurate. I'll first start with the claws. They were given these small ridges that add depth and a sense of realism that an actual scorpion would have. Even though the stylization that was done, it retains this simple feel of the Filmation look. This is really reinforced by not having the oversized claws having the claws that were still in proportion to what they were in the Filmation cartoon. The tail follows suit with the claws. They're a bit beefier than they were in the Filmation drawings, but that's way more for the positive. It makes Scorpia seem more like a warrior than some dainty female character. The tail also has the bumps on it, which I think is really fantastic. Her helmet doesn't have the ridges that I was talking about on the claws and the tail. And if you look at the source material, you'll see a slight color variance in the helmet between the helmet and the claws and the tail. The Four Horsemen followed suit on this, and this would lead me to say that Scorpia wears a helmet rather than having some sort of hard-shelled head. You wouldn't guess it from the way she acts, though. Also with the tail, it's made of a softer material than the rest of the figure. I believe it's meant to have some sort of bendability. It isn't that much, and I didn't want to force the issue in fear that I might break something. As for articulation, she's much more poseable than some of the more bulky figures. Not having the giant armor lends itself to this higher ability to pose. The joints themselves are strong enough to hold weapons and hold positions pretty well without being too stiff in the joints. As you can see, the legs go back reasonably far, and they can go forward equally as far. Arms go up pretty far, elbow joints bend, wrist and ankles are strong, and the head swivels as well. I've positioned her into a yoga sort of ballet pose to show what she's capable of. The only downfall of this figure is her undergarment. Like many of the female Masters of the Universe Classics figures, we have this weird poopy diaper underpant thing. On Scorpia, that is not nearly as pronounced as on some of the other figures, but it does make her look a bit awkward. Luckily, there's other features that are just so fantastic on the figure, and hopefully nobody's really staring at a toy crotch anyway. Hopefully. Finally, we'll talk about our crossbow. In the vintage line, everybody had a similar crossbow with different paint apps, but the Horsemen have done a good job in updating the crossbows for each figure. Keeping it consistent with the scorpion motif, Scorpia's crossbow is shaped like a scorpion, but it isn't overly done. It has the scorpion-ish body, and the bow part resembles the arms with the claws being the bow joints. The part where the string mounts to cock it, sort of, is the scorpion's tail. It's a pretty clever way to do it and adds to an already great figure. Scorpia has gone from a Filmation character I respected to being one of my favorite characters from this toy line. She's well worth the price of admission, so I recommend adding one or two to your collection. So thanks for checking us out, and make sure to hit the subscribe button. Why? Because every time a person subscribes to our channel, a valuable vintage toy is saved from the landfill. I promise you that. Also be sure to check out our site at nerdgasms.net. Until next time, geek on proudly.